Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning, everyone. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Kate. Okay, I will. Thanks. Bye. Oh, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. Let me get some video going too.
Great.
There we go.
Thanks, Ashley, for coordinating everything. Appreciate it.
Yes, no problem. Sorry for the delay. Traffic was a nightmare this morning.
Don't even worry about it. I'm going to have Ryan Melville. Can you grant him access to share the screen with him?
Yep. So I'm,
Because he just
yes.
want to test the screen. He's got to go into our website. So he
I
wants to
can
be
try it
able to.
right now if you want.
Okay. Yeah. Um,
Host disabled participant screen share. Yeah, you just have to give me the permission.
I have to, oh boy. Okay.
Go, just
So, hi, Tom.
screen,
Hi,
Ashley.
Catherine.
Yes. Make co-host maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan Melville. So I just made you a co-host. Should I make you all co-hosts? Do you think?
No, we're not. Nobody else will be sharing the screen.
All right, can you see my screen okay?
Yep, I can see it. Yep.
Perfect. All right, that
I'm gonna
works.
put
I
headphones
will
on, Pat, so you're not.
Um,
stop sharing and we're all set. So I'll be able to do it when it comes to my turn.
is Alan Green gonna share his screen as well to go through DIA? He might need a permission too, actually.
Okay, sorry, what was that last name?
So Alan Green, Deputy Director of the Department of Industrial Accidents, I think he wants to he's gonna walk people through the DIA website too, right?
Okay, I have an Alan G. Is that the same?
That's it. Alan Green. That's Alan G. And then can you accept Kyle Gill in too? Kyle Gill's our general counsel. Alan, you're in now. They just connected you, Alan.
Yeah. All right. Alan, do you want me to make him a co-host?
No, I don't think Alan's going to grab the screen. I think he's just going to review the document that everybody be looking in front of him.
Okay.
Okay. So
And
what
then
was
just Kyle Gill, Gill.
I
Hi,
don't know
Tom.
that I don't think I see that name yet.
Well, now I've been trained on the coffee machine.
Uh,
They do it. Now they can hear. Okay.
All that ice. Oh my God. Did you dig out okay?
yeah, I'm not seeing his name yet. Did he log in?
I
Oh,
think he's
Kyle
waiting
Gill.
to
Now
be
I see him.
accepted.
Sorry.
Yes. No problem. Great. That's all the presenters. I think we got it. Once Kyle joins, we're all set.
So just so you guys know, I'm gonna switch it up in the morning a little bit. So I'll open it up and then I'll turn it over to the mayor. The mayor's gonna say a few things and then he's gonna turn it back over to me. I'm gonna have Deputy Chief
Oh, the headphones aren't working.
Gingras go first. Before you guys get into the slide presentation, just because he has to leave around 9:45. So he just
Okay,
say
great.
a few brief things about fire compliance and things like that. And then we can get right into the slide presentation.
Excellent.
I listed him as a captain. Was there a promotion
He
recently?
just got promoted last week. Yeah, so he's deputy chief now.
I quickly.
Awesome.
Oh boy.
I'll have some tasks for you. That needs to be trained on. Oh, we're gonna do old fashioned redaction. We're just gonna take a black Sharpie and old school, love it. Yes. I'm here till 1. Okay, thanks.
Yes. I don't see him on yet. Okay. Sorry, are we waiting for me for something? Sorry.
Well, I think you have to admit all the licensees. Hopefully it's not just us and you have people.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yep. Okay. Admit. There's quite the list, so that's good.
Uh,
All right. Still going through here. What's that one? Oh. All right. I think that is everyone.
Ashley, do you have the chat function on? The Q&A?
Wonderful question.
I think just because we usually will accept we can say this when everyone joins, but we'll use the chat or the Q&A if there's questions, if there's time for questions, either during or at the end. And just, if you see anything come up like that, just let the presenter know.
Is that like Q&A at the bottom? No open question.
Bottom of
Okay.
it says Q&A, yes.
All right. Yep. I got it open now. We have some new.
Okay.
All right. So everyone has been admitted. That was in the waiting room, and they adding people as they come, but should be all set there.
All right, I'll get started. Okay, good morning, everyone. Lieutenant Tom McCarthy, Framingham Police Department. So thanks for being part of the Zoom today. So we perform this alcohol seminar on an annual basis, and this is for the benefit of all the licensees in Framingham to update them on law changes, local regulations, and to maintain compliance throughout the year. So I'd like to open up the seminar by opening it up to Mayor Charlie Sitski. He'd like to say a few words. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Framingham's 2024 Annual Liquor License Seminar. We have special thanks today to our panelists. I'd like to particularly acknowledge and thank representatives from the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission for helping us to coordinate and prepare and present today's training. We're joined today by Commissioner Jean Lorizio, Chair of the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission, the ABCC, Ralph Sacramone, the Executive Director of the ABCC, Attorney Kyle Gill, General Counsel for the ABCC, Ryan Melville, the Deputy Executive Director of the ABCC, and we also are joined today by Alan Green, the Deputy Director of the Mass Department of Industrial Accidents, as well as a number of city personnel who are joining us today to help with the seminar and to answer any questions you may have. City of Framingham appreciates ABCC's efforts and its ongoing collaboration with the city. Our partnership helps keep our licensees well informed on alcohol sales requirements, laws, and any updates that may occur. We want to have all of our licensees in Framingham to have a successful business, and that's why your attendance at today's seminar is so important. So again, thank you to all the panelists, our guests from the ABCC, and to all the licensees for attending. Now I'd like to turn it back to Lieutenant McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just for the benefit of the licensees, I will be taking attendance during this presentation. According to the rules and regulations, if you do have a violation throughout the year, attending this seminar is a mitigating factor. So I see most of your establishments are listed in the name of your profile. If you don't have your establishment listed in the profile, if you could change your name if possible so that I can record that. I will be taking a roll call at the end. I'll be providing my contact information. So if you join at some point or you lose connection, you give me a call and just advise me that you were here. Or if you can't change your profile, that's fine. Just give me a call. So the way it's going to work is we have a slide presentation to show you. And we're going to go through the most prevalent issues that we see and updates in the laws, et cetera. So I'd first like to open it up to Deputy Chief Will Gingras from the Fire Department. He's going to speak about some issues that he sees and related to inspections and things like that. Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending the annual seminar. This is my third year doing this, and I found it's been very helpful, passing information along, things that we're looking from the fire department to help you with your business get your liquor license. Generally, these inspections that are required from the fire department happen later in the fall. It's after you submit your application to the building department. In a perfect scenario, we do these inspections with the building department member with us. For us on the fire department, our inspections, we're looking for a number of things. It's all coming out of 527 CMR, which is the Comprehensive Massachusetts Fire Safety Code. We're currently using the 2021 edition. So my biggest thing every year, what we find is people waiting too long to schedule these inspections, and then we're all trying to play catch up with the fire department. We are busy. We got a lot of businesses in the city that we have to inspect, not just for liquor, but other convicts as well. But for the restaurant establishments, the biggest things that always get you, at the ninth hour trying to get your license signed is compliance. Make sure yearly your sprinkler system has to be tested, your fire alarm has to be tested, your kitchen suppression system has to be tested, and that's every 6 months. Your fire extinguishers every year, and your hood cleaning, stay on top of it. Some of the issues that we find is that people forget. They say, oh, I sent out the application to the company and they didn't come, but it's up to you to follow up with them. It's not our responsibility to make sure that you're scheduling these things. And that's the biggest hang up every year is with the building department, the fire department. When we come out to these facilities, these restaurants or liquor stores, the extinguishers are expired. And then we got to come back 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. You got to keep in mind that we have hundreds of businesses that we inspect in the city. And so it's very difficult for us. We have a small office. The building department has a small office to get out to every single one of them. So the best scenario for you is stay compliant all year long. Don't wait for us to come out in November or December. Then you find out your sprinkler system's expired or your fire extinguishers are missing or your emergency lights aren't working. Be doing these checks every month. So that way when you come and you fill out your application and we show up, it should be smooth. And we sign it off and we send it out for to Ashley for approval. Like I said, I work in the fire prevention office here in Framingham. If you guys have any questions, just contact us. We have 4 inspectors, including myself, and we're always available to come out any time of the year to help you guys with any questions or any needs that you have. That's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. I'll turn over to the ABCC and city attorney to go ahead with the slide presentation.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ralph Sacramone. I'm the executive director with the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. Before we start the presentation, I'd like to introduce our chairman of the ABCC, Gene Lorizio, for some opening comments. Gene?
Madam Chair, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? You can? Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry about that. I had problems this morning. Thank you. So good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ralph. And thank you, Mayor Sazitsky. Thank you, Lieutenant McCarthy, and Solicitor Fallon. We really do appreciate the opportunity to be here today in front of all of you. With any outreach, the ABCC's goal is always the same. We want to share information and encourage compliance so that all licensees remain successful in their businesses. And we do these a lot of different cities and towns throughout the state. And honestly, Framingham is our model. To have this group of departments together in one place is really, really wonderful for licensees to have the opportunity to gather all this information and to be able to ask the questions they need to ask. And our hope today is that we provide some great and important information. And with that, I will turn it over to Ralph, Ryan, and Kyle. They do a super presentation planned for everybody. So thank you for having us today.
Thank you, Gene. Well, good morning, everyone. As I said earlier, my name is Ralph Sacramone. I'm the executive director with the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. I think this is our 5th year of doing licensee compliance training in conjunction with the entire city of Framingham and all the departments. I'd like to just at this point in time, just thank Lieutenant McCarthy and Attorney Fallon for all their work with putting together the presentation and so forth that you will see today. This is going to be a joint presentation. It's going to be with the ABC, the Department of Industrial Accidents. It's also going to be with representatives from different departments, along with Lieutenant McCarthy with the police department and Attorney Fallon representing the city of Framingham to cover the additional conditions with their policy and procedures as we begin to move forward on the application. Catherine, I think we lost the screen for the presentation.
Okay, can you see it now? I'm so sorry. We're trying
There it is. It's back right there. There you go.
All right. Sorry about that. Let me just. All right, full screen.
Yeah, we can
Full
go to
screen ahead,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, go to slide 3.
All right.
Here we go. Perfect. All right, let's cover what our goals are for today. Our goals is compliance. We do not want to see licensees end up with violations or go down the wrong path. So what we've been doing over the last 5 years is introducing to you areas that we see weaknesses that we will see. Just as the deputy chief of the fire department spoke about earlier, there's little things that you may only do once or twice a year, and sometimes you're waiting to the last minute to do them. So what we're about today is to keep you out of trouble, keep you on the right path, and to give you as much assistance as possible. Kyle Gill has always used this term, who is our general counsel. He always uses the term, a license of privilege. It's not a right. With the privilege comes responsibilities and guidelines that need to be followed. And the responsibilities is every licensee needs to know what is the correct procedure when handling alcohol. Alcohol is a controlled substance in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So moving forward, we're going to cover all different areas from amending your application to purchasing of alcohol, all the way down to using the proper IDs, also inspection of premises by the Framingham Police Department in the ABC offices, and many other subjects. And we're also going to take you through the navigation of our website. When we cover the first 2 subjects, you're going to be able to see a presentation, how to navigate through the website, where to find all this information we're talking about. And it's very easy to use, and it's a very friendly website. So a lot of the information that you'll hear from today, we're going to take you and show you exactly where you can find it. Let's talk about the biggest issues that we see out there is with a licensee is once your license is approved through the 3-step process, which means you apply to the city of Framingham, they have the hearing, they approve the license, then the application is forwarded to the ABCC, and then it is vetted by the ABC, voted upon by the commission, and then a license is sent back to the town of Framingham, and you actually receive a hard copy of your license that needs to be posted in your licensed premises. The issue you have is at this point is anytime you make a change to anything that was approved in the application, you have to get approval of it through the 3-step approval process. So if you decide to bring on a new partner, you decide to remodel your facility, you decide to expand the facility, change the hours, change your manager, anything like that, as you can see on the screen, these are the major issues that we see that licensees do not keep up on. So when we talk about change of ownership, if you have 2 partners and one decides to leave and you take in a 3rd partner, that 3rd partner has to be approved, either as a transfer of stock or issuance of stock. And the reason why that is required is that there is a statutory prohibition of any licensee or any person who has a direct or indirect interest in the license that if there is a felony conviction, you may be disqualified from holding that type of license. All right. There is a character fitness check. We also do background checks on where financial funds come from, bank accounts, etc. As you know, in our industry, it's one of the biggest money laundering industries you have out there outside of coin-operated machines. So it's very important we do due diligence of where the money, and we follow the trail by peeling back the onion, as we always say, the layers of it, to make sure that all of this is coming from legitimate sources. Also, if you're going to decide to change your name, if you're going to go from an LLC to a corporation, or you're going from a sole proprietor to a corporation, you need to have all of these approved. Renovation, alteration of premises needs to be approved. Applications got to be filed, and before any of these actions take place, and even with appointing a new manager, that manager cannot assume the role and the responsibility, just like you cannot move into another location or expand your location without the 3-step approval process. And it takes it all the way down to change of hours, including your Sunday hours, and change of location. These are the biggest issues we see. And also another thing we're seeing is, for instance, is someone is changing an officer or director, all right, of the corporation, and then you need to be approved to be an authorized signer to approve the process. So the issue you have right now, if your officers and directors have not been changed over a number period of time, that person that's authorizing may have never been approved by the local board and the ABC. So that application has to be returned until that's been corrected. So different items like that is the constant mistakes we see out there. So it's very, very important. Any changes you make, you need to file an application, and that's called an amended application. And Ryan, when the Deputy Executive, Ryan Melville, takes you through the navigation of the website, he'll show you exactly where you will find those amendments. Now, working with the local board over the last 10 years and all the stakeholders, we have really streamlined these applications to be very, very user-friendly. Any questions on that before we move to the next slide? With no questions, okay, we'll move to the next slide. Okay, update on outdoor patios and seating areas. All right, as you know, we're in a little unique situation because of the pandemic. And what the legislators have done working with the ABC Commission is right now there's an emergency order that's in place that created a streamlined process for moving to outdoor seating. And that basically gave full jurisdiction to the local licensing authority to grant approval to move to city sidewalks, parking spots, outside green space area, and also to private property that was contiguous to the licensed premises. So all of that order has been in place since June of 2020. And is set to expire on April 1st, 2024. And the reason why I want to bring this up right now is If it is to expire on April 1st, 2024, that means the emergency order will no longer be in effect. That means if you are tending to do in the summer season outdoor seating and you have not had that permanently approved, you're going to have to file the 3-step approval process and file an alteration of premises. And you would want to do that now, because it's going to take you probably 4 weeks through the local board and then 4 weeks through the ABC. So you're talking about 2 months down the road. You do not want to come in the middle of March or the beginning of April, because you'll never have this seating approved in time to move to outdoors if you're planning for May 1st. So it's very, very important that everybody realize we cannot guarantee if the legislature is going to extend it this year. So if you choose to do permanent outdoor seating, you want to make sure that you will file the proper alteration of premises application and move forward, because this application is going to need it to be advertised for 10 days. The abutters are going to need to be notified within 3 days, and then there'll be a hearing at the local board. So you got to do all your time constraints in that manner. And then with the ABC, we will come out and do a physical inspection of the premises to make sure it meets the guidelines of outdoor seating. So that's very, very important. If you're planning to do it this summer and there's no extension, you're going to have to follow through the 3-step approval process. Any questions at all on that?
5.
No questions? Okay, let's move to the next slide. All right, at this point in time, I'd like to turn this part of the presentation over to the ABC Deputy Executive Director, Ryan Melville. Ryan?
Thanks, Ralph. I'm going to just share my screen so show the website that we're going to talk about. Okay, so the ABCC currently, we've made a major effort in the last few years to update and use our website as a point of information for all licensees. Ralph referenced the amendment to the application. Before we get there, I just wanted to show that if you go to our website, you can Google it, Mass Alcohol Beverage Control Commission, where you'll see the link at the top here, the information to get to that location. If you didn't ever need to contact us, our contact information is here. This is our phone number and our ABCC staff directory if you wanted to email us as well. Additional to, if you had any amendments, as Ralph mentioned before, is because you're all current licensees. If you had a change of manager or any sorts of changes in your license, you need to file an amendment to the application. To do that, you go to alcohol beverages retail licenses, you'd select that, and then you'd see amend a retail license, and that's what you would select. The various types of amendments that you'd be able to do will be listed here. It all depends on what you're trying to do. Ultimately, you could make multiple amendments to your license. For example, if you wanted to change your manager, change your officers and directors, you could select that and it'll bring you to this page, which will then give you all the various transactions that you could do. The most important thing you'll notice is that there's a checklist for every transaction that you do. That checklist is to help you, along with the local board in Framingham, on understanding what's required for that particular application. So, for example, you could do a change of location or your alteration of premise that Ralph mentioned before, and a change of manager. There are also standalone amendments. So say, for example, you were only going to do, as we were referencing earlier, the alteration of premise. So you wanted to make your outdoor seating permanent. You'd be able to select the alteration of premise option, and then it would take you here to what the alteration of premise application would look like. You'd select alteration of premise, and what are you going to see here? You're going to see the list of everything that's required of you. So these applications and the requirements for them are all on the website. And then you can go through each application. They've been streamlined so that that's the only transaction that you're doing, and that only requirements are based off of that particular change in your license. There's a number of different transactions here. When it gets to anything specific over like changing, how are you going to do change of your LLC versus a corporation, that's something you work with your own legal counsel on. But the types of transactions that you'll see here are all listed and what's required for each of them. The other thing that we've put on the website, and we got a lot of calls about, are the various questions about things like the happy hour regulation and the annual holiday calendar. So there have been changes over the last 7 or 8 years on service during holidays. Traditionally, there were some dates that you couldn't serve or sell if you were a package store or a restaurant. Every year we send out the holiday calendar to cities and towns so that they can include them with their renewals. But if you ever had a question, say you're a package store and there was a question about whether you could or could not serve or sell on that date, you can go to our website under ABCC publications. You'll see it right here. You'd select that and then go to commission advisories. And then the various advisories like the holiday calendar, which are issued every year, you'd find that here. I highly suggest having this available to you, so that if you ever have a question by any of your staff or yourself, you'd have this available, and it tells you right away what days you can and can't operate. The other big one that we get a lot of calls about is the happy hour regulation for restaurants. We send this out every year. This is the holiday compliance. It's typically during the holiday season, and we get the most questions on this. But this is the happy hour regulation. There's a lot of questions that can come up. Different businesses are going to try to do unique things to expand their business or to bring in more clientele. And oftentimes they'll call the city or they'll call the ABCC. We're going to always refer you to the happy hour regulation. And this is the best version of that regulation for you as a business owner to read and understand what you can and can't do. One thing we don't do is we're not going to get into the what if I did this, that, try to find gray areas or ways around it. We're just going to refer you to this regulation. And this is for you and for your staff. In case you had any questions about what you can and can't do, it was written in a way that people would understand what is available to them and what they can do as a licensee. There's other various advisories on here. Ralph had referenced the expansion, the temporary expansion of takeaway alcohol and delivery, that and patio service, that's here as well. So if you ever had any questions about various advisories that might have been issued and where you wanted to go, you would find those here. The other thing that was mentioned and was asked to be touched on was commission decisions. So we can actually go on our website. You'll be able to review decisions by municipality. So you can see all the ABCC decisions by Framingham that reference Framingham here on our website. So if if it was an issue that you came across in the past, or it was a question about what impact your licensee had with the ABCC, you'd be able to find that on our website on a past decision. And that would be under review decisions by cities or towns. The last one that I really wanted to touch on our website for resources, and this, is we've made an effort the last 8 years to compile the most common questions that we at the agency receive. So we get a lot of calls, common questions that might come up. And we put together our frequently asked questions. So you notice that this is really something that we've tried to emphasize on our website is our frequently asked questions. So I'm going to open up the version here. And within this frequently asked questions, you're going to see a question that you have probably had, or a flavor of the question that you've had, or somebody that works for you, or maybe even a customer might have had. There are oftentimes moments that people will have questions if it's a customer that wants to do something, say that they can't do. And it's tough for you just to, as a business owner, to say, no, you just can't do it because the state says so. Sometimes it's easier if you just have the frequently asked questions and it's right from the ABCC and it says, no, what you're trying to do, you can't do. Or maybe a staff member has a question, or you have a new staff member that's new to the hospitality industry. This is really helpful because the most typical time you're going to have that question is during non-business hours of either the city of Framingham or the ABCC. So we're talking nights and weekends, where it's harder to get in touch with somebody to answer that question. So we have this frequently asked questions. These are a tool for you as licensees. Additional to that, because we understand that the industry has people from very diverse backgrounds and maybe certain languages they're stronger in than others, that we actually put these in. We've made the frequently asked questions in multiple languages, so that your staff or your staff, it might be easier for those folks or a customer to read it in that language and have it available. We really emphasize that this is a tool for you as licensees to have, so that you can train your staff into being in compliance, because that's really where we always want to go. So those are the major things on our website that would probably impact you as licensees. And I'll be available after after the presentation is completed to assist and answer any questions. Thanks, Ralph. I'll return
Thank
it.
you, Ryan. And just a quick reminder, we also with the packet you received on the PowerPoint presentation, we have also attached a sample of all the frequently asked questions. So you can use them as a training guide, as Ryan was talking about. So you should have received a copy of those with the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Ryan. To move on next, before I introduce this person, I'd like to talk about what this agency does. This is the Department of Industrial Accidents. All right, they oversee the workman's comp and any industrial accident that's done on any type of business or licensed premises. And it's very, very important with the next presentation and why we want everybody to listen closely on this is the person or the agency that can really help you out if you are required to carry workman's comp. All right, because some places you're self-employed or a sole proprietor, and what basically happens is that you think you may not be required to have workman's comp, and you do, and this is a very, very serious issue in the state because they have the ability to shut you down on the spot, and you will close down for a number of days until your insurance comes, until you achieve insurance, or you end up at a hearing at the DIA. So at this point in time, I'd like to introduce Alan Green. He's the Deputy Director of the Division of Industrial Accidents.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending. This is a very important seminar. My agency enforces Mass General Law 15225 state. That basically states any business operating within the confines of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts with employees is required by law to have a workers' compensation policy in place. There is some misconceptions out there of what the Commonwealth deems an employee versus what the public does. A lot of the business owners don't think they need workers' compensation because they hire family members, part-time employees, 1099. They're just paying them cash. Even corporate officers. Corporate officers are deemed employees, but we have adopted a Form 153. When filled out by the corporate officers and submitted to our office, they'd be exempt for having workers' compensation. But we do have 18 investigators that covered the state, and they have a database that is updated at 12:01 every morning. It has every business operating in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They can check with this database if they have a workers' compensation policy, if they're not. If you don't, most likely you're going to be getting a visit from them. They'll come in and try to establish a owner-employee relationship. At that point, they'll speak with a supervisor asking where the workers' compensation policy is, do they have one, or they don't. If they don't, at this point, we issue what we call a stop work order. Now, you have two choices. You can appeal the issuance of this stop work order, and to do that, the fine's $250 a day to the day the fine is paid, and it goes through holidays and weekends. And then we have to give you an appeal date by law within 14 days, but this usually happens within 7. During that time frame, the appeal, you can keep your business open. Some people don't choose to do that. The next step, you choose not to appeal. Your business is closed. The fine's $100 a day, and that fine runs till you become compliant. Your building will be stickered. If the sticker is taken down or the business is operating, we find it operating while you chose to close, a criminal complaint most likely will be filed against you. We want to help. We don't be afraid to call our agency. A lot of people do not call because they're afraid something might happen. They might get in trouble. We want you to call. We're not out there to levy fines. We're out there to make sure, the goal of the agency, that everybody is compliant. Now, one important thing too is if you do get issued a stop work order, you're automatically placed on a debarment list for 3 years. That means you can either bid or participate in any state or municipally funded contracts for 3 years. Now, that could affect some businesses that have the lottery, Keno, scratch tickets, etc. And we have a trust fund, and this is really, really important. If there is an injured employee and his company does not have workers' compensation in place, you can come to our agency and apply for benefits, medical bills, future earnings, whatever you require, whether these bills are $1,000, millions of dollars, seven figures, whatever, we're going to pay. And then through litigation, we're going to come back to get the money back from the owner of the corporation or business. Like I said, if you have any questions, please call our agency. Do not be afraid. We're here to help. And any questions, I'll be here later after the seminar to answer them. Okay, Ralph.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. Catherine, if we could jump back to the PowerPoint slide to go to the next slide.
Can you see the next slide?
No, I'm not seeing it. Perfect. There we go.
Sorry about that.
Moving to the next phase of our presentation, as we talked about, just to review very quickly, we review the importance of making any changes to any existing license. We also talked about the outdoor seating. We navigated through the website, and we talked about the importance with the Department of Industrial Accidents about having workman's comp. The next phase of the presentation, we want to get rid of all of these fake fallacies that are out there in the industry that a lot of licensees think that are part of the law and you can do it. We don't want you to be doing it if you're going to get yourself in trouble. So the first topic we're going to talk about is purchasing alcohol from authorized sources. What is the term for authorized sources? It's any Massachusetts wholesaler or any Massachusetts manufacturer, farmer winery, farmer brewery, farmer distillery. All right. Any one of those items that is classified as an authorized source. What is not an authorized source for everybody to understand is purchasing product in Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York. Those are not Massachusetts wholesalers. That is illegal to do. That is actually where the term bootlegging comes into. You cannot have product purchased from outside of Massachusetts to be sold in Massachusetts from a retail licensee, which everybody in this call is a retail licensee. So if you are a package store, if you are a restaurant, if you are a tavern, a lounge, a club, a hotel, you must purchase from authorized sources, which are Massachusetts wholesalers, Massachusetts manufacturers. Now, to also clear up the fallacy out there, BJ's, Sam's Clubs, Costco, they are not Massachusetts wholesalers. They are nothing more than Massachusetts package store owners under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 15. They're just like any other package store. So it's very, very important that you do not have you do not run into the problem thinking that those box stores are wholesalers. They are not. If you need a list of wholesalers, you can always send an email to the ABC. We'll give you a full list of authorized sources throughout the entire state. So it's important that you remember that. Second of all, is why we really stress this, is that it's important that you purchase from Massachusetts wholesalers and manufacturers because all the product is tracked. It's tracked all the way from where it's manufactured, shipped to Massachusetts, and distributed throughout Massachusetts. So if you're purchasing a product from a gentleman who pulls up in a van and says, I got 10 cases of Johnny Walker Black and I'll sell them to you for 50% off, you don't even know if that's really Johnny Walker Black in that bottle because there is a lot of pirated alcohol out there. The term calls pirated booze, and that's what it is. If you look during the pandemic back in 2020, there was a lot of this pirated alcohol down in the Caribbean where 8 people actually died from consuming it. So just remember one point. If you are purchasing this product, you're going to run into a major problem. If someone does get sick from it, it runs into 2 problems. One, it's a state violation. It's also a federal violation. all right, buying our product in selling and distributing in the same manner that is unauthorized. So you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Also, is if you get caught purchasing product from an unauthorized source in Rhode Island and New Hampshire, let me just give you the bottom line dollar value of this. So if you go up and you're buying 25 cases of product up in New Hampshire at one of their state liquor stores, you bring it back. And how do we find out about it? We find out about it from your competitors. The competitors call in the complaints on us and say, this person is going every Tuesday up to New Hampshire purchasing all this product, and he's back at the store around 11 o'clock unloading it. We got a complaint, we follow up. It's almost to the T, the time frame. So when you're unloading the product, we're going to come in, we're going to say, can we see my investigator is going to ask to see the invoice. You're not going to be able to produce a Massachusetts invoice from a wholesaler, from a Massachusetts wholesaler. What's going to happen is we're going to confiscate all the product. You're going to have a hearing in front of the commission. The commission takes this very, very seriously. So most likely you're going to end up with a suspension. And on top of it, you do not get the alcohol back. The alcohol is taken, it is destroyed to a hazardous waste facility. All right. So never mind the money you put out, and then you're also going to be losing the product and ending up with a violation. So altogether, we want to tell everybody now, if you've been doing that, or if you've been buying from places that you don't authorize source, it all stops now. Going forward on this, you're on your own if you get caught. So it's very, very important. Plus, remember the most important point, the safety, integrity of the product. You know what is inside that bottle is the right item. Does anybody have any questions on it? No questions? All right, Catherine, we move to the next slide. The other fallacy out there is that if you own multiple businesses, so for instance, say you own a restaurant in Framingham and you own one in Natick, all right? There is a fallacy out there that you can transfer alcohol back and forth to each of these facilities because it's the same corporation. That is not true. That is false. Every restaurant is designated to a premises. All the alcohol delivered to 1 Main Street in Framingham has to be sold for 1 Main Street in Framingham to its customers. It cannot be transferred or sold to one of your other locations. What happens on this? Say, for instance, you have 2 restaurants in Framingham. Okay, one at 1 Main Street and one at 10 Broadway. If you take alcohol and you transfer from 1 Main Street to 10 Broadway, okay, even though it's the same corporation, that is a double violation. Number one is the place that you are transferring, we'll call it, as we said, 10 Broadway, all right? They are purchasing product from an unauthorized source. They're purchasing product from a restaurant. So there's a violation on their behalf because they're receiving the product. The person transferring it from your 1 Main Street location, all right, is acting as a wholesaler without a license. So it ends up a double violation. And if that product is confiscated and you're found to be in violation of law, that product is destroyed too. So if you look at the financial end of it, it's not worth doing. So if any of them, if you're doing that now, that all ceases. Same thing goes for package stores. If you own multiple package stores in the state, because you can own up to 9 individual licenses throughout the state, you cannot transfer a product between those locations. All right. Now, this is how the statute is written right now. It's not an ABC rule. It is the law. So if anyone is doing that, you need to stop that immediately so you do not end up with a headache. Remember, it's a double violation for the person transferring and the person receiving. Any questions on that? All right, move to the next slide, please. At this point in time, I just want to do a quick review of delivery of alcohol. As everyone knows, since the pandemic, alcohol deliveries have gone up 300%. And that is the same way as every other item outside of alcohol, between Amazon and all of these other corporations that are out there. Wayfair, deliveries to homes is the way the future is going. So remember, in Massachusetts, alcohol is a controllable substance. So what you do at the brick and mortar is the exact same procedure you do when you're delivering to someone's front door. So at the brick and mortar, where you are checking IDs when someone comes in and making sure that that person is 21 years or older and it's the right person buying the alcohol. You need to do the exact same thing involved with deliveries. Now, package stores always had the right to deliver. All they had to do was come in and get a transportation permit, which is issued directly from the ABCC. It's $150 per year permit, and it's good from January 1st to December 31st. And you can deliver anywhere in the Commonwealth. It's just not allowing you to deliver in Framingham. You can deliver to all surrounding communities. So it's a pretty easy process to apply. Usually you have it within 24 hours once you do the application right online. Very simple to do. Now, with that transportation permit, it allows you to either have a company vehicle deliver, or you can license one of your employees' vehicles to do the deliveries. Along with that now, during the pandemic, the legislators also granted the ability for a on-premise licensee who serves food the ability to deliver alcohol with to-go meals. So you can sell alcohol, desired amounts. There is, I'll go over that in a minute, but if you were supplying a meal, you could sell alcohol to go. For instance, if you were going to sell wine, you could sell with per meal 1.5 liters of wine in the sealed bottle. If you were selling malt beverages or beer and seltzer, you could sell up to 192 ounces per meal. If you're doing mixed drinks, you could do 64 ounces per drink in a sealed container. And the sealed container was very simple. People were using mason jars. People were using to-go cups, and they were taping over the opening at the top of the lid that the straw would go into. So all of that was the ability to do that, and you had the right to sell to-go and to deliver that product. Now, one of the issues with this order is set to expire on April 1st, 2024. Could this be expanded? Yes, it could. This has a better shot of being expanded than the outdoor seating exemption right now. So if anybody is delivering alcohol with their meal, it's very, very important to remember you follow the exact same rules you do at the restaurant. When someone comes in to order a meal, they order alcohol, you're checking IDs. You want to make sure when you're delivering that meal with the alcohol that you are checking IDs on that end. Does anyone have any questions on that? No questions at all in reference to that. So it's very, very important. All right, at this point in time, as we move to the next slide, compliance checks, I want to turn this over to our General Counsel, Kyle Gill. Kyle?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing the ABCC to participate in Framingham's annual seminar. We are happy to every year, and I'm glad to be back, so thank you. I'm going to start off with compliance checks. I know you saw on our website that we did compliance checks in 2023. We are again doing them in 2024. I do not believe, to my knowledge, that Framingham was tested by the ABCC in 2023. So that very well could happen in 2024. And the way that you pass an ABCC compliance check is you ask our underage operative for an identification. As soon as they're asked for an identification, they turn around and will walk out of your establishment. They don't present an ID. You don't have to. They just don't. So as soon as you ask for an ID, they turn around and you pass. Now, not every situation is going to be like that. Obviously, if it's an underage attempting to purchase alcoholic beverages that's not an underage operative, they could show you a fake ID. But just with the compliance checks, if they show you if you ask for an identification, then you pass. Also this year, the ABCC is going to be doing compliance check with deliveries. One good tool to use that I've heard has been successful for licensees is what's called the secret shopper program, where whether you have employees that are have transportation permits or you use a third party that also has a Section 22 express transportation permit, you actually test to make sure that they are IDing and they are not selling or delivering to someone who's under 21 years of age. We have seen that the way you can, and these compliance checks are really twofold. They are checking to make sure that alcoholic beverages are not sold to minors. They're also trying to make sure that the vehicle has a transportation permit as required by law. So if you are doing deliveries, just know that ABCC compliance checks are going to be testing deliveries in the future. I'll move to the next slide. So all types, not everything's a compliance check. So sometimes ABCC investigators, whether it's through general enforcement, will look to see if a business, if young people are going inside, and maybe they'll go inside the premises and take a look for themselves. But a lot of times we receive complaints in the top 2 complaints that get investigated at the ABCC that go to the top of the list are service to underage and service to intoxicated. So what happens is if those complaints happen, this is where this becomes very relevant. So in Massachusetts right now, it says 6 acceptable forms of identification. What these are types of identification that a licensee can reasonably rely on for proof of age. So those include, as it is right now, a Massachusetts driver's license, a Massachusetts liquor ID card, a Massachusetts identification card, a passport issued by the U.S. government or a government officially recognized by the U.S., a United States passport card, and a military identification. Now, with these types of IDs, you notice that in the law, section Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34B, the accepting of these identifications still has to be reasonable for it to be a valid defense. So if someone goes to your store with a Massachusetts driver's license that looks no older than 17 years old, I would tell you that that's not reasonable reliance. If you're presented a U.S. passport and the picture looks nothing like the person in front of you, then that's not reasonable reliance. So when it does help you is, say if an individual is using their older brother's Massachusetts driver's license, they come in, you see they're youthful, you ask for their identification, they give you their older brother's Massachusetts driver's license, you inspect it, you see that they look alike, maybe they're similar heights, similar eye color, and you make a judgment call, and you actually do believe the person in front of you is the same person in the ID. You make that sale. Outside is a Framingham police officer or an ABCC investigator, and they inquire his age and say they even write the store up for a violation. Now at your hearing, you have a defense under 34B that you reasonably relied on the Massachusetts driver license that ended up being of the older brother. Again, so it's not a, I guess, get out of jail free card if you receive one of these licenses. I think just want to emphasize that it still has to be reasonable. Now, there is a type of identification that is not listed here that I'm sure most of you commonly get, and that's an out-of-state driver's license. Out-of-state driver's license are accepted at their own risk. Now, it's not a violation if you accept a New Hampshire driver's license and the person is, in fact, 22 years old, and they show you the New Hampshire driver's license and you make a sale. In and of itself, that is not a violation. You are allowed to accept it. However, if that was a fraudulent or someone else, a New Hampshire license of someone else, you do not have the same defense you do. You don't have any defense. It's more of a strict liability violation than you do if it was a Massachusetts driver's license or one of the identifications, other identifications listed under Section 34B that you can reasonably rely on. Other types of strict liability offenses that on-premises licensees faces when someone passes alcohol off to someone else who's under 21. So to summarize, someone who is 21 years or older receives an alcoholic beverage and then passes it off to someone under 21. That is a different type of violation. That is called permitting illegality, possession of alcohol by someone under 21 on your licensed premises. And that is, licensees are responsible to keep necessary and sufficient close supervision of their premises. So there is a responsibility to monitor young patrons, especially those that are under 21, and make sure that they're not in possession of alcoholic beverages on your licensed premises. One tool, and this is just a tool, and this is the current version that's until February. It's the ID checking guide. And our investigators use this for out-of-state IDs. It keeps up to date all the security features you want to look for in trying to determine if a license before you is fraudulent or not. It's not perfect. There really no tool is. Even the most up-to-date and best ID scanners are not perfect, but they are a good tool to use. And this is one that our ABCC investigators use, which is called the ID checking guide. Before I move on to the next slide, does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. Move on to the next slide. Next slide is concerning the 24J report. So this is Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 90, Section 24J. And what this is when someone is convicted or pleads guilty to driving under the influence of alcohol, they are asked during their sentencing under oath by the clerk magistrate where they had that last drink that evening. If they state your establishment, the clerk will put that in the court record, and then that gets transmitted to the ABCC, the Office of the Attorney General, the local district attorney's office, and the establishment itself. Now, receiving this notice is not a violation in and of itself. And to be completely honest, we have seen that they're not always, when investigating, look at them, they're not always the most reliable piece of data. However, if you've received now a few of them, because what our chief investigator does is he receives all of them and he tracks them. And if now your establishment has 2 or 3 or a half dozen of these notices, they are going to send an undercover investigator to your premises, probably on a busy night, a Friday or Saturday, and they're going to probably order a drink and sit undercover in your establishment and watch. And if they see someone showing outward and signs of intoxication, such as having a problem with balance, swaying back and forth, acting loud and obnoxious, or many other things, maybe they even fall. They're going to be looking for those signs of intoxication, and then they're going to be looking for service after those signs have been made visible. And when service is made after this individual has made it known that people should know that they are intoxicated, employees at the establishment should know that he or she is intoxicated. It's that sale that happens afterwards. That's the violation. And if that occurs, they'll write a violation report, and you'll have to either stipulate or defend yourself in front of the commission. Licensees do have a duty to protect themselves, duty to protect their patrons. So these situations can even evolve worse than just a violation hearing. They could be tragic, and they could really affect the business negatively. So when it's always best to have trained servers and to know the signs of intoxication, and if they see it, to make sure that that person's no longer served. And I think it's always best to try to ensure that they have safe transportation home as well. Does anyone have any questions on the 24J list? Okay, thank you. I'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, this one I'm going to do in tandem with Attorney Fallon and Lieutenant McCarthy. Every municipality does have different rules and regulations with regard to last call. Just statewide, you can't be utilizing your license past your approved hours, but at this time, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant McCarthy and Attorney Fallon.
Sure, thank you, Kyle. So I can run through this a little bit. So the official hours are as printed on your license. So, for example, some places have a common vic license, say it goes from 8 in the morning until 1 a.m. They could potentially have an alcohol license. It doesn't start until 9 and stops at midnight. So you have to be circumspect in the hours that you're serving the alcohol, and they have to be secured if you have a common vic license or another type of license that allows you to be open outside of those hours. So last call. So last call needs to be no more than 15 minutes prior to closing. So on your license, if you close at midnight, 11:45 is the last time you can serve a drink. Now, you don't need to serve a drink at 11:45. You can make last call at 11:30 or whatever time you decide. If you have a large establishment, with an entertainment license. A lot of places have opted to make last call a little bit earlier, so that way it helps them facilitate getting the patrons off site by closing hour. So all tables in the bar must be clear of glasses, containers, etc. 30 minutes after closing hour. So if your closing hour is at midnight, everything has to be cleared off by 12:30. That's obviously the fourth bullet point. It's your obligation to ensure that all the beer and wine and all the drinks, all the containers are cleared off. So if the police department goes by and they still see glasses, if you close at midnight and it's 1:15 and it looks like there's alcohol all over the place, then that's going to be an issue. So that goes into the next bullet point. All customers must be off the premise by closing time. So that's why I was suggesting, or some places have actually utilized it, that the last call is not right at quarter of. Because if you have a place that holds, say, 400 patrons, it might be difficult to get 400 patrons out of that establishment by midnight if your last call is at 11:45. So that's something to consider. Obviously, you can't serve anything after the official closing hour. You have to make sure everyone's off site. The official closing hour is set by the board. And it's the manager on record's official responsibility to ensure that all the employees are well versed in the regulations and closing hour, etc. And that's pretty much it for this slide.
So, Lieutenant, I'll just add briefly that every licensee should have a copy of the rules, and if you don't, they're available online, or we can get a copy to you. And that, exit from the premises, it has to be orderly, it has to be managed. It's not just everybody out, making sure that everybody safely exits and everybody is able to, isn't intoxicated like you just heard. That's another important piece to this last call, the last call rules. And if you need anything at the end of the presentation too, the resources will include email addresses if you need an updated copy of the rules and regs. Now, just push you to the next slide, Lieutenant.
Sure. And just to note on the rules, if any of the establishments have any questions, maybe about an event they're having or anything like that coming up, or just any questions in general about the rules or ABCC regulations, my contact information will be at the end of the presentation. You can certainly call me. I probably can give you the answer. If I don't know the answer, we'll research it and get back to you. But anything related to the rules, you can certainly have me as a point of contact. So basically anybody from the city can go in and inspect the establishment at any time. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, just because you close at midnight, if the lights are on, the police can make sure that there's no one in there being served, etc. Now, obviously, if you're doing maintenance, you're doing painting or something like that, that's different. But the police, ABCC, fire, building department, they can all go in, Board of Health, to make sure you're in compliance. So the police department.
Sorry, Lieutenant McCarthy. I just wanted to add, with the ABCC, there is a misnomer out there that, and I know a lot of people might spend a lot of time at their business, but police and ABCC, or authorized agents like local licensing authority, which is usually the police, also ABCC investigators, do not need a warrant to enter the licensed premises. That is a misnomer. The hindering an investigation statute is technically a criminal statute. It's Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 138, Section 63A. And it also includes things like locking out ABCC investigators or authorized agents such as the police, locking the doors, not letting them in, obviously physically obstructing them, but also providing information. For instance, if there's surveillance that's available, destroying that, it was also a violation of 63A. So just wanted to give some scenarios in which that law could be applicable. And it's always important just to note again that the license is a privilege, not a right. It's not like your home. Again, a warrant's not needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. And obviously it's the manager on record and the assistant manager. They should be aware of that. They should advise their staff on that. If there's anyone working security or checking IDs, etc., they should be aware of that. So we can go in there and do an inspection, and we actually do that on a frequent basis. On busy nights, Friday and Saturday, many of you have seen officers go down there and we'll just talk to your staff and make sure everything's good. And most of the establishments like that community engagement. So we do that. Go to the next slide. All right, so management ID card. So in the past, the regulations used to call for every single person, whether you're a bartender, a manager, a bouncer working security, everyone used to have management ID card, alcohol server ID cards. That was a kind of a logistical issue with, we have almost 90 establishments in the city times, X amount of people working for the establishment. It became kind of a logistical issue getting all those cards. So what we did is we made it a little bit easier for everyone. Basically, everyone needs the alcohol training, and there's a list of the training that the city recognizes on the city website. Whether you're a bouncer checking IDs, you're a bartender, server, waitress, waiter, everyone needs training. And that training needs to be kept up to date, and records of that need to be kept on site. Now, second to that, there's a Framingham Police plastic ID card, which is a management ID card. Only the managers and assistant managers are required to get that. So we put it on the manager and assistant manager to make sure that all your employees are trained and have training. But for you, you need to, you basically just come down to the police department, you make an appointment, we come in, we take your photograph, and you need a copy of your training, your alcohol training. And your card expires on the date when your training expires. So just managers and assistant managers need those cards, and everyone else needs training. So you're going to want to keep those cards with you on site. Most places will keep a file with all of the alcohol training, so that way if there's any investigations, it's readily available. You could show me. Next slide. All right, so this slide's pretty much for me. So I just want to cover, some things that we see in investigations and some of the common issues that come up. So obviously overcrowding is an issue. So let's say your establishment holds 200 people. Well, you want to ensure that there's not more than 200 people there. And that typically, that's set by the building department. The patron load per square foot, depending on the type of business, et cetera. That's a significant issue. That's a building and fire code issue. And I'd say that's the most important, one of the most important issues and things that you want to be aware of. If there's a fire, that capacity is set so that people can safely exit. So you want to make sure that is not exceeded. Whatever amount of money you're making for the night is not worth, having someone get hurt if there's an issue, the power goes out and people panic and running around and people can't get out, or if there's a fire. So over serving, that's probably the number one way to get yourself jammed up in a violation before the board. So, I'll get into some of the investigations in a little bit, but basically it's on you to make sure that the person isn't overserved. And going back a couple slides to the last drink, let's say someone, came into your establishment at, midnight, and, they've already had several beers and they're kind of intoxicated. You see that, you serve them one beer. Now you're the last place that served them. So now it's on you. It doesn't matter. There's not going to be any finger pointing. Well, the guy already went to 3 establishments. Well, you served him last, so it's on you. So be aware of that. Obviously over serving. We require all servers to have alcohol training. And the reason for that is because in that training, it talks about, how much alcohol is absorbed by the body over a period of time, and kind of what's a reasonable amount of alcohol over a period of time. So we had one violation within the last couple of years that I handled, and there were a couple patrons in a bar, and they were served, I think, like 7 hard drinks in about an hour and a half. Now, based on training, one would know that that's too many, and also based on observation from patrons, the bartenders, et cetera, they should have known. So they took a violation for that because that was clearly over-serving. Another way to prove over-serving is obviously we talk to people and the person seems intoxicated, and then the person is given another drink. So that will get you in trouble. That's something personally I investigate on my own after the call, usually the next day or so. Third one, entertainment. So if you're licensed to be a restaurant, and let's say on a Saturday you want to have some event and you want to have a singer and a dance floor and everything, and you're not licensed to have that's a problem. You can't do that. Also be aware of the nightclub definition. That falls under building code. There's not very many places that are deemed to be a nightclub under building code in the city, but be aware of that. It encompasses low lighting, amplified music, nighttime hours, things like that. If you're moving tables and chairs to make room for a dance floor, that's an issue that could also coincide with overcrowding. So be aware of that. So the next one down. So we talked about how the police have a right to enter the establishment, and we do this on a frequent basis, and generally there's no issues. There's a lot of places we go to frequently, and we have a good relationship with a lot of these places and the security that work there. So make sure that your staff is aware of the police expectations and the regulations. So cover charges. So you can have cover charges under state regulations and under the rules and regulations of the city of Framingham. However, they have to be equitable and they have to follow the procedures. So, for example, you can't say, okay, we're going to have an event tonight. We're going to have a band, and they have an entertainment license for the band. You can't say, okay, we're only going to charge men after 10 o'clock. You have to charge everybody. You have to provide a receipt. It has to be conspicuously posted outside in at least 1-inch letters, those types of things. So in terms of entertainment, you can't provide entertainment before you have a license. The annual renewal deadline. So Ashley over in City Hall, she, like I said, there's almost 90 establishments that have an alcohol license in the city. So you have to renew before November 30th. You have to make sure everything's signed. You have to include a common thing that I speak with her all the time, and we talk back and forth about, who's up for renewal, who got things done, who didn't get this stuff done. So you have to have the fire inspection certificate. You have to have all the insurance. That all needs to be in before November 30th. So just be aware of that. So some other issues I'll talk about quick, the investigations side of it. So most of the frequent violations include over-serving. So I'll give you an example. So if 2 people go into your bar, let's say they haven't been drinking, right? And you serve them 2 beers in an hour. They didn't like each other before they went into the bar, and now they've had 2 beers and they don't like each other now. Let's say they get into a fight. They're not intoxicated. The establishment didn't necessarily do anything wrong. They called police. We went there. We investigated. And we found out, well, these guys just don't like each other. They have some, past issue or whatever. That's probably not going to be a violation that's going to the board because you didn't overserve them. And there was no nexus between, the fight and what the establishment did. Now, I'll give you that same example with a violation. So let's say you go in there The two gentlemen go in there and you serve them, like I said, 7 hard alcohol drinks in an hour and a half, then they get in a fight. Well, that's going to be a problem because now you overserve them, and there's probably a nexus between the overserving and the fight. So I follow up on pretty much anything to do with an alcohol establishment, whether it's a medical fight. I read a report and there was no UI, and they said they were coming from that establishment, any type of disturbance. So some of the more common things we see are, well, obviously the disturbances, happy hour violations. Be careful, you can't serve more than 2 drinks per person. So you can't have things like beer buckets. You can't have, let's say you have an entertainment license, you're selling a ticket for an event. Let's say Saturday you have a band. You can't advertise, yep, $10 ticket and we'll give you 2 free beers if you buy the ticket. That's not okay. You can't do that. Obviously underage service. You have to ID people. We also, aside from the ABCC, on these inspections / compliance checks that the officers do at some of these establishments, an officer can ask anyone in the establishment for ID, and they need to provide their name and address and date of birth. If they don't do that, potentially they can be arrested for that. So make sure you're IDing people. Don't be serving underage. And that's kind of a lot of things I see. I read all the reports. So obviously some of I talk to you more frequently, and some I don't, but I do follow up on all of those things. So what you can expect from an officer on scene, if there's some type of fight, disturbance, they'll ask you who the bartender was, who the server was. They want to talk, generally they want to talk to the manager who's on duty to ID them. They'll ask you for a bar tab. They'll want to preserve the videotape, and they can talk to any of the patrons. If the person gets transported in an ambulance, they're going to talk to the paramedics, things like that. Now, they can't always do that on scene. Let's say it's 1 o'clock in the morning and something happens, and we only have 6 officers on the road. They might not be able to get all that information at that time, but you can expect that I will call you and follow up on that, and they'll send me the report. So also in the regulations, it says that this city regulation, it says that if there's any issue at the establishment, you must notify police. Now that would police being myself if it's a minor issue, but if there's anything that requires immediate attention, such as a fight, disturbance, medical, something like that, you need to call immediately. That's right in the regulations. And I can tell you myself as well as the board, some places maybe would think, well, if I call, I'm going to get in trouble. But, we find out about it inevitably anyways. Sometimes officers will tell me stuff, and, if there's a fight or something, we're going to find out. Sometimes people don't tell us things, and then it shows up on social media. Now, if you don't call us, it's going to look very negatively on you. It looks like you're trying to hide it. So I would encourage you to call. Obviously, if it's a fight or something, you're not going to be calling me. You're going to be calling 911 or the dispatch center. But just call us. And it shows right away that you're cooperating. And, besides the fact you're required to, it shows that you're cooperating. So that's all I have for now for the investigation part.
I'm just going to add a couple of things to that. And first of all, to just let everyone know, Attorney Bradley from our office has also joined. So she's also a resource available to you if you do have any questions. And just to add a little bit, in terms of the management aspect of it, and tips is required, as you just heard, but there's really, it doesn't just stop there. There's really, there's nothing like the on-the-job training and experience that you have for years and years and years of working in the industry. So if you have less experienced staff coming on board, yes, the tips is required, but there's also some on-the-job training and some guidance that you can offer, because most of these issues are really just management issues. If you're exceeding your occupancy limit and you're overcrowding the establishment, you're going to have a harder time managing the establishment. These are just kind of common sense things, but there's a whole lot to your experience as managers that can assist your staff in making sure these issues don't happen. And the other issue that I just wanted to get back to is the cover charges. You can't have a cover charge. The law is clear. You can't say at the front door, you can't come in unless you pay the cover charge, you know, for an event. The event, if there's an event there that's permitted, you have the entertainment license to permit it, and you're going to charge a cover charge in advance. You have to post the sign so people know that. And the law also says that you can't charge anyone under 13 to a cover charge to go to an event. So I just wanted to touch upon those. And then the final thing would be the annual renewal, that this is just something to plug in your calendar and know that you have to do it. And this is also a time when if there's something that changes, you lose your lease at the premises or something like that, you're going to be needing to change a location or something like that. That's the time for you to alert the board, not sign off under the pains and penalties of perjury that you're still operating there. If you don't, or you're not, or you've closed your doors. But that's the opportunity for you to come to the board and say, listen, we've had a change. We may need to transfer. We may need additional time. That's your time. Don't sign under the pains and penalties of perjury that you're under operation if you're not. And also this is just a deadline driven thing where if you don't file the application on a timely basis, you have to apply for a new license. And there's plenty of individuals that are vying for licenses in Framingham. So it's really important. And we do Ashley does send the reminder out, does all the follow-ups with you, but just plug it in as a to-do, like filing your annual reports and filing your taxes. Just put it in your calendar as a regular event that comes up, and just get it in and make sure you sign it, make sure all the information's accurate, make sure you put your fee in, everything complete, so that you don't get caught having to apply for a new license. Thanks, Lieutenant. Go to the next one.
Sure. All right, so this is kind of what we both talked about, the alcohol servers. They need the training, but also make sure they're aware of the regulations, and they have to be 18 years of age. So if you have, maybe you have a liquor store and you got, your nephew working there or something, they have to be 18 years old. So keep that in mind. And I offer to any establishments. I met with establishments over the last couple of years. I think I've had some come down to the station. If you're a newer establishment and you want to have a meeting with your employees, I can go through the regulations and touch on some things so that everyone's in compliance. You also could have new employees maybe watch this seminar. These seminars are all recorded from the last probably 5 years. They're all on the licensing website. So just keep that in mind.
And serving and handling alcohol too. You can't have anyone under 18 bringing alcohol to and from a table, taking glasses that have alcohol in them, a bus person clearing off where there's alcohol in the glasses if they're under 18. That's a really important thing as well. So the law is really clear that anyone that's handling it in your establishment has to be 18 years of age or older.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Lieutenant McCarthy. One last point on individuals under the age of 17. Remember, too, stocking shelves and receiving alcohol orders, it falls under that same rule also. They cannot be in possession of that product at all under the age of 17. All right. Moving to the next slide.
All right.
As we move to concluding the seminar, we know everybody's time is precious. We always save this for the end. Is about clubs. Okay. I just want to get rid of the fallacy, and I say this at every training seminar, is a Chapter 138, Section 12 club, on-premise consumption club, follows the exact same rules as every other licensees with additional conditions added to it. Now, A club license does not give you the ability to stay open 24 hours a day. It is not that. You operate according to what the hours are stated on your license. Number two, you do not advertise events saying on Friday night we have a country western band come in, $25 a person. That means you're open to the public, and you cannot. The guidance on the club is very simple, is that it's for members and guest members. And what Framingham has done is even gone a step further. They have added very clear definitions of what a member is, who has to be accompanied by a member, and so forth on the licensed premises. So it's important that you remember and follow these guidelines. A club, that is a privilege there. You are not open to the public. And when I mean a club, I am talking about your associations, your fraternal organizations, your Knights of Columbus, your Elks, Sons of Italy, all of the same clubs, the veterans clubs, Marines clubs, DAVs, all of them fall in the exact same category. All right, they're a fraternal organization with memberships and a charter. So it's important that you remember that you have to follow the guidelines. Same rules. You have to be 21 years of age to consume alcohol. Entering the facility, you have to be a member or a guest of a member. When the member leaves, the guest has to leave with them, and so forth, and whatever additional rules that the city of Framingham has added to it. Also, in addition, it's very, very important about the hours. Your opening and closing hours are extremely important. Now, if you're cleaning the facility, it's one thing. You're doing painting or items to that extent, it's different. But we have seen to run into the exact same issue across the state. It's not unique to Framingham, is that they tend to stay open past the closing hours. So it's very, very important that you need to follow through what is there. If you have any questions, I would reach out to Lieutenant McCarthy and Attorney Fallon on what the additional conditions are with them. Also, at the end of the year, the filing of your annual report of all up-to-date club members, you need to file that with your local licensing authority. And if any of them has changed, you need to do a 3-step approval, amended application with the local board, the ABC, and then the local board will issue you an amended application stating those individuals are involved. So it's very, very important that you do follow these guidelines. And remember, there is no difference. There is no exceptions for a Section 12 club that any other licensees has. And remember, you are not open to the public. You're not even supposed to have any type of alcohol memorabilia or advertisement on your building or in your windows. So it's important that you review through that. If any of this is going on, you need to stop immediately, and then you can refer to us at the ABC or to Attorney Fallon and Lieutenant McCarthy. Any questions on that?
Nothing.
Okay. And then to the next slide, and I will team up with Lieutenant McCarthy because he's been stressing this through the whole thing. It's all about teamwork. We're here to help you. I don't think you should be afraid to pick up the phone and ask a question to the ABC or the city of Framingham or the police department. Remember one thing is you have the responsibility to protect your patrons, your employees, and your neighborhoods. So all these examples that we see all the time is two people are arguing and you don't want to have trouble. You push them outside and then a Donnybrook happens in the street. You're responsible for that because you've foreseen that problem happening. Very simple. All you got to do is pick up the call, pick up the phone, dial 911, and you were proactive and you won't be penalized. As long as those people have not been overserved or anything, you'll be able to work with the police department, and that's a key thing. Same thing with the ABC. If you're planning an event, all right, and you want to see if the event is going to be in compliance with law, give us a call. Tell us and we'll walk through the steps with you. We'll tell you what's going to be able to work, what's not going to be able to work on it, and you'll know in advance, especially when it comes if you decide to do drink specials and everything. Drink specials got to run on a 7-day calendar period, starting from Sundays through Saturdays, available all day long, not just for a desired time period. So those things are really important. Call us and let us know. At this point, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant McCarthy and Attorney Fallon.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so like I said, I've been stressing this throughout. So my job is to ensure that you maintain compliance. I would much rather assist you ahead of the time and provide you with the rules and resources that you need, rather than do investigations after the fact and go before the board. And just to point out, there are several of the board members here tonight, Shannon, Joe, and Alicia. So thank you for coming. So not only am I watching you, the board's watching you right now. So go by the rules.
And if you also look at the next remaining slides, Attorney Fallon has given you all the resources to make it successful, you to find everything that you need. So feel free to look at them. Also, you have the ABC FAQs, you have the DIA presentation that has all the contact numbers to reach out to, and also everything with the city of Framingham. So the resources are there. There is no excuse not to say, I didn't know about it, when you have everything that you have here. This, you can use this as a training booklet with your employees, what you saw today in the PowerPoint presentation. So on behalf of the ABC, I just want to thank again Lieutenant McCarthy and Attorney Fallon for putting together all the information. They had done all the legwork. I appreciate the participation with Alan Green from the Division of Industrial Accidents, and of course our entire team, Chairman Gene Larizio, Deputy Executive Director Ryan Melville, and of course our General Counsel Kyle Gill. And I wish you all the best. Don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call if you have any questions. At this point, I'll turn it over to Attorney Fallon and Lieutenant McCarthy.
If we could just go back to that that slide with my contact info.
Sure.
So I did record all of the participants today. So if I call you out, if you could either call me or email me and let me know, you know, what establishment you're from. So I have Ephraim Roman, Kathy Ubaldino, Joe Barberi. There was just someone on their phone named Owner, Gene Faney, and Apu Patel. If I called your name, just let me know what establishment you're from. And my info is obviously there. I do work Monday through Friday during the day shift. But you can call me and leave me a message anytime. I will return your voicemail. And certainly email is also a good avenue.
And I'll just begin. I'll just end the way the mayor began, by thanking the ABCC for your assistance with this, your collaboration. Thank you to the chair, the executive director, deputy executive director, your general counsel. Thank you also to Deputy Director Green for joining us for this presentation. Really collaborating with you is just keeping all of us on track and keeping all of us informed. And that's the most important thing. That's the key thing here. And I think we have one hand, which is from Sal. One question from Sal. That was my last thing, is does anyone have questions? Sal, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The question I have is, every year when we do these classes, I'm wondering if the city or the state has thought of possibly putting together almost like let's call it a quiz that we can use for training for our employees. Or, you know, this video, if it's accessible, could also be used for a training, so that it allows us the opportunity to sit down with our employees and, you know, spend the time to go through all the main points, especially when it comes to certain things that are occurring that the state sees, the city sees on a continuous, let's say, you know, continuous patterns, let's say, you know.
That's a great point. And I'm sure that we could come up with some type of a Q&A, and I'm sure that, you know, your managers and assistant managers can also contribute to that from the patterns that they might be seeing. This video is available online, so you can actually stream it for your staff if you want to train. It's on the City of Framingham website under the Licensing Commission. And it actually, the previous, I believe the last 3 trainings are there. And there's also frequently asked questions is more for your management. We also incorporated these links to the ABCC website as well as to the DIA website in this presentation. So this PowerPoint is also going to be uploaded there as a tool for you to be able to instruct your staff.
Okay, and like I said, if in the conversations you guys have within yourself, if there is a possibility that maybe at some point in the future we can compile the data and put some sort of it could be a Q&A, like you said, and a multiple choice ABC, that would be helpful, I think, because when you sit down with an employee or sit down with your managers, you can use it as a training tool to try to reduce the amount of common issues that all restaurants are having,
Sure.
Just a suggestion, I was thinking about it today,
Great suggestion. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
No, I just also didn't want to forget thanking Ashley for her help today, coordinating the call.
Yes. All right. I think that's it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Be
you
well.
so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
But you don't want me to scan all of the supporting them? No, everything on this one. Everything, and then take out all the first. Yes. Okay. I sent you a second email because one of the applicants put the page in the middle that was